The following is a presentation of 912 Sports. Welcome to On Air with 912 Sports, your number one source for high school sports. With Sean Smoke and Kevin Price. On Air with 912 Sports is brought to you by Coastal Pines Technical College. Go Coastal. Prime South Bank. Find your prime. Robbie Robertson Ford, because Fords are cheaper in the swamp. Gibson Animal Clinic, practical solutions with limited fees. Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, the region's best orthopedic care. And Kim Smoke, licensed realtor with eXp Realty.
It makes sense Prime South Bank would have a great mobile app. Nobody is as mobile as our customers. For a century, they've chased dreams, followed their hearts, took the road less taken, made a new path, taken leaps of faith. At Prime South, offering the latest digital banking, secure pay apps, and new online lending is part of a mobile tradition that goes way back. Life is mobile. So is Prime South. Find your Prime. Member FDIC.
High schoolers, did you know that you can get a head start on your college career and save money at the same time through dual enrollment at Coastal Pines Technical College? Dual enrollment is open to high school juniors and seniors, tuition free. Talk to your high school counselor or visit coastalpines.edu for more information. Coastal Pines Technical College, an equal opportunity institution. Go Coastal.
Things are starting to return to normal here in the 912 after the disruption from Hurricane Helene. Last Friday, October the 11th, produced a full slate of games around the 912 area. Hello, everybody, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke, publisher of 912 Sports, and we've got a great show for you tonight. We still have two schools that remain undefeated. That's Long and Pierce. But we're starting to get into the meat and potatoes of region play. So we'll see what happens this Friday night and see if we get any October surprises. Once again, I'll be filling in for Evan Smoke this week for his scoring recaps and passing along his pick of the week on Game of the Week. Head writer and podcast host Kevin Price and I will preview all the games slated for this October the 18th. So sit back and enjoy the show. You're watching On Air with 912 Sports.
Play it loud and rev it up. Robbie Robertson's got trucks built for tough.
Make your way to Robbie Robertson Ford in Waycross, where the deals are bigger than ever. Looking for a stylish midsize car, a spacious SUV, or a truck that performs at work and play? Robbie Robertson wants your vehicle and is paying top dollar. Now is the time to buy. Fords are cheaper in the swamp.
At Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, you don't have to be an athlete to get the region's best orthopedic care. Our board-certified orthopedic surgeons and physicians treat injuries and conditions that affect just about any joint or bone in your body. Plus, we're backed by the support of Southeast Georgia Health System. From fracture repair to joint replacement, Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery will get you moving again. Call 1-855-ASK-SGHS. That's 1-855-275-7447 or visit sghs.org/summit.
Welcome, sports fans. I'm Sean Smoke, publisher of 912 Sports, and I'll have your scoring recaps from the games October the 11th. So let's start it off here. Appleton County Pirates defeated Chris County by a final score of 24-7. In our game of the week, the Jeff Davis Yellow Jackets took down the Bacon County Red Raiders by a final score of 24-14. Brunswick rolls right along. Big winners over Statesboro, 49-0. Camden County was able to get to 1-1 in the region as they defeat the Richmond Hill Wildcats by a final score of 28-10. Charlton took one on the chin as they go over to Irwin, getting beat 64-34. Same with the Clinch County Panthers. They fall to the Brooks County Trojans 42-12. And it was Coffee's first loss in 21 games. Coffee falls to Lee County 48-14. Evans played on Wednesday of last week. Effingham went up to Evans and got that victory 35-7. Frederica with a much closer game than we expected against Bullock Academy, only losing 14-0. Bullock's very, very good, undefeated on the season, but Frederica held their own. Glen Academy gets a win over South Effingham, 31-0. And then you've got Groves at Liberty. Liberty gets a big win, 52-12. The Long County Blue Tide remains undefeated as they take down Windsor Forest 25-0. And MCA was able to get back on the winning side of things, beating Bryan County 36-14. Ware County gets a big region win in their first region game of the season, goes on the road over to Savannah and takes down Benedictine 38-14. And some games that were played Monday night. Effingham goes on the road up to Lakeside Evans. Lakeside Evans beats Effingham 58-38, setting up that big matchup between Brunswick and Lakeside Evans this week. The South Effingham Mustangs fell to Evans by a final score of 35-3. Bradwell hosted Greenbrier. Bradwell comes up a little bit short. Greenbrier 34, Bradwell 22. The Liberty County Panthers go on the road to Statesboro and fall to Southeast Bullock in a close one, 28-19. But that's your scoring recaps back from October the 11th. We'll be back with more on air with 912 Sports right after these messages.
Gibson Animal Clinic is ready to help with your animals. From cats to dogs to horses, we treat them all. Call on us for grooming, bathing, boarding, and more serious things like surgery, dentistry, spay, neuter, immunizations, heartworm prevention, flea control, complete lab testing, radiology, preventive health care. Call us at 285-7678. Open Saturdays for your convenience. Gibson Animal Clinic. Practical solutions with reasonable fees. Russell J. Gibson, DVM.
Gibson Animal Clinic, 108 Riverside Drive, Waycross.
Hablamos español en nuestra clínica.
Play it loud and rev it up. Robbie Robertson's got trucks built for tough.
Make your way to Robbie Robertson Ford in Waycross, where the deals are bigger than ever. Looking for a stylish midsize car, a spacious SUV, or a truck that performs at work and play? Robbie Robertson wants your vehicle and is paying top dollar. Now is the time to buy. Fords are cheaper in the swamp.
Welcome, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Spoke, publisher of 912 Sports, joined as always by head writer and podcast host Kevin Price. Kevin, how you doing?
Good, Sean. Good to be here. I guess mid-October, late October. Weather's nice outside. Kind of feels like football, and a lot of good region games on tap. So I guess it's football season.
Yeah, and it's a lot of football this week too, Kevin, especially with Hurricane Helene coming through. I mean, we got games Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. I mean, we got football all over the place, but we're going to try to make some sense of it. We're actually going to talk about the games the week of October the 18th, which is this coming Friday. We'll mention some of the games that were played earlier in the week, but those are the games that we're going to concentrate on. First on the slate, Kevin, is Appleton at Tatnall. Appleton County coming off that region win last week over Chris. They were 1-0 in the region. We'll see if they can go to 2-0 and get one with Tatnall. Worth County's got to travel to Bacon. Bacon had a tough game last week, come up on the short end of the stick of that Jeff Davis game. That was our game of the week last week. Worth playing really, really good football right now, really in a battle with Fitzgerald and Thomasville for that region. So we'll see who wins that one out. And then our first game we're going to talk about in depth is our game of the week, South Effingham at Bradwell. And Kevin, we have high hopes for both of these teams at the beginning of the season. Just really hasn't developed. I mean, Bradwell sitting there with one win, South Effingham sitting there with no wins. And, oh, by the way, both of those guys are having to play 2 games this week. Going to be an interesting matchup there over in Bradwell on Friday night. But we'll see which one of these teams can put one in the W column.
Yeah, that's the thing. Somebody has to win the ball game, and that's the good news for both teams. South Effingham winless, 0-6. Bradwell 1-5. You did mention that both of these teams have already played a game this week. They're in that makeup category. South Effingham lost their game to Evans on Monday. Lost that game 35-0. Bradwell played on Tuesday and lost to Greenbrier 34-22. When you look at South Effingham, Sean, the bottom line is they just can't score. They've been shut out in 4 of 6 games and have been shut out in their last 3 games. The thing is, Bradwell can at least score, and they're at home, so you got to feel like the cards are stacked in their favor, and unless something changes, they should win the ball game.
Yeah, Bradwell played Greenbrier tough, just couldn't get the W there. But we'll see see if they can put game number 2 in the W column here this Friday night. But we'll move right along, Kevin. Brantley at Thomasville. Thomasville sitting there, like we said, battling with Worth, battling with Fitzgerald for that region title. Brantley did get the big win over Jeff Davis. We'll see if they can go on the road and beat another ranked team. It's going to be a tough ask for Brantley to do that, but we'll see if that happens. But really, Kevin, our game of the week this week is Lakeside Evans at Brunswick. The reason I say that, you got a 6-1 team against a 7-0 team. Brunswick's at home. Both of them are undefeated in the region. Both of them are playing really, really good football. And, I mean, it's early. There's games after this one, so don't misconstrue what we're saying here. But, Kevin, this really is the ixo facto region championship right here. You would think whoever wins this game is going to be region champs of Region 1 5A.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and the reason you say that is because, both of these teams play teams on the bottom end of the region standings in the remaining 2 ball games. So whoever wins this ball game controls their own destiny and would really only have to win, one of the final 2. And they're going to be heavy favorites. Both teams are, in their final 2 ball games. The team that loses would need that other team to not only lose, 1 to get back into a tie, but the team that wins is going to have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So that means the team that wins is going to have to lose twice. And realistically, that's just not going to happen when you look at the 2 teams that both of these teams have to play. Again, they're going to play teams on the bottom side of the standings. But when you look at this game, Sean, I'll start with Lakeside Evans. Obviously, a nice story. They're 7-0 on the season, unbeaten overall. They've never started the season 7-0. This actually matches their longest winning streak, 7 ball games. They had tied for their second longest winning streak going into that Effingham game on Monday night and won that ball game 58-38. So now they matched their longest winning streak in school history. And look, they've won 2 games since the Hurricane Helene that did devastation all over the place. In Augusta, in particular, it was one of the hardest hit areas in the state. And kudos to them for, picking up the pieces and coming back and playing 2 great ball games. Greenbrier last week on Thursday, and then this one this past Monday against Effingham since then. So that's part of their story as well. And then when you look at this Brunswick High team, obviously have not lost since losing the season opener at Glenn County Stadium to a Camden team that's only lost once all season, and that was to Valdosta a couple of weeks ago. And Valdosta's undefeated, sitting on top of their region in Class 6A after beating Colquitt on Friday night. They're in the driver's seat in their region. So, when you look at these 2 teams, Sean, I mean, both of them are very good. Obviously, something's got to give here. When you look at this thing, Sean, I really feel like things are going to catch up with Lakeside Evans here. They're a nice story, but this is going to be their 3rd game since last Thursday. They played Greenbrier on Thursday, played Effingham on Monday. They've got to make this trip down to Brunswick from Augusta. And, oh, by the way, the best team they're going to play in this tough 3-game stretch is going to be waiting on them when they step on the field between the bricks. And, of course, that's the Brunswick High Pirates. And look here, when they played Effingham the other night, that ball game was back and forth, but it was 38-38 going into the 4th quarter, and then they won that ball game going away 58-38. Well, look at here. Brunswick is going to score points just like Effingham did, just like they did. If they can't stop Effingham, they're not stopping Brunswick unless Brunswick stops themselves. And Effingham has not played defense against anybody worth anything if you look at their schedule. And so Brunswick's defense, I know, is way, 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 way better than Effingham's. So I don't see Lakeside getting 38 against the Pirates. So, Sean, I really feel like, this game is going to get a lot of hype. It is for the region championship. But to be honest with you, I feel like Brunswick's going to win this game by 14, if not 21.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Kevin. It's like you said, it's just 3 games in a matter of what is that, 8 days. It's going to really catch up with Lakeside. Plus that travel. I mean, that is not an easy, hour car ride down to Brunswick from up there. Their young quarterback is really really good. He makes a lot of plays with his legs, makes a lot of plays with his arms, but I don't think they've played a defense like Brunswick's all year long, and I think that's going to be the difference in the game. And again, I think Brunswick can score with anybody. Their offense is prolific. They've been in the 40s in most of their games all season long, and I just feel like they're in the better position to win this game and go ahead and lock down that region. With a win there on Friday night between the Bricks.
No, I agree with you. Brunswick's got a lot of foot speed on offense, a lot of guys that can tote the mail, a lot of guys that can catch the football. Grant Moore, can run it and throw it, certainly making good decisions with the football in terms of distributing that ball to all his playmakers. The Brunswick defense is solid. I just think, Brunswick's going to be the best team they played by far. And again, I mean, Lakeside is an experienced ball club. Their quarterback, Brunswick cannot let him dominate the football game now. I mean, he's had games where he's had over 300 all-purpose yards. In that game against Greenbrier, I know he had over 100 yards rushing. He also turned, I think it was a kick or a punt, one or the other for 90 yards and a touchdown. And then they ate up Effingham with their run game the other night. Certainly he was part of that. So I know he had, I don't know his exact stat line because the stats weren't official, as we're doing this taping, but I know he had to have a big night in that one. But so Brunswick's defense got to keep him morale, keep him hemmed up, not let him break off explosive plays. I think they can do that. They game tackled all year long, and I just think Brunswick's going to have too much firepower for them, and I don't think they'll slow down Brunswick enough to win the ball game. And I just think the cards are in Brunswick's favor. And again, I think they win by double digits as long as they don't stub their own toe and hurt themselves with turnovers and penalties and things of that nature.
Exactly. Brunswick's only loss, was to Camden, and let's face it, they beat themselves. I mean, Camden didn't really beat them. Brunswick with 3 just disastrous, special teams plays that really, really cost them that game. But we'll move on. The next game, Kevin, we're going to talk about is that Region 1 6A, Camden at Lowndes. Both of these teams come in 1-1 in region. Camden lost to Valdosta. Lowndes lost to Colquitt. Camden's got to go on the road again this year. I think last year they played over at the Concrete Palace. They got to turn right back around and play over there again this year with the new classifications and new regions moving around. So it won't be any stranger for the players. Be a little bit new for Coach Travis Rowland because he's never coached over there. But this could be a true dogfight. No pun intended there. I know Camden's a catch, but man, this is really going to be a game. And really, whoever wins this, Kevin's going to put themselves, in a position maybe to host a home playoff game. So we'll see who can get it done on Friday night over in Valdosta.
Yeah, well, when you look at the pecking order in that region, right now Valdosta in the driver's seat in that region already, sitting there undefeated and with that win over Colquitt, they're kind of controlling things, dictating things over there in that region. But certainly things are far from done. When you look at this thing, with Camden already beating now Richmond Hill, they really put Richmond Hill behind the 8 ball because Richmond Hill's got to find a way to pick up a win and try to secure a playoff spot. If they were to beat one of the so-called Big Three, like a lot of people like to call them, even though, Camden certainly thinks they're part of the mix too, that could upset the apple cart if Richmond Hill were to somehow beat Lowndes, Valdosta, or Colquitt. They still got all those teams left, and Richmond Hill plays Valdosta, this week, which I guess we'll talk about here in a minute. But when you look at Camden and Lowndes, whoever could win this ball game could, like you say, talk about maybe getting into the 1 or 2 hole, depending on how things shake out, and move kind of up a notch, and possibly talk about hosting the playoff game. So this is about getting a leg up on the competition, which is, these 2 teams, and moving kind of up the ladder, if you will. And, so it's getting that head-to-head tiebreaker over the other guy here. And when you look at this game, Adam Carter, of course, used to be a former Camden assistant, coached at Grayson, won a state championship there, comes back to South Georgia and coaches at Lowndes. And I joked with Coach Travis Rowland on our Camden podcast this week, kind of maybe used to coach against Camden with a chip on the shoulder, with Jeff Herron being his old mentor, kind of wanted to, kind of make sure he could beat his old old head man there, his boss, that kind of taught him a lot of tricks of the trade. Maybe not. I was kind of joking. Doesn't take this game as serious as he once did. Maybe that might play into the Wildcats' favor. But he's done a heck of a job turning that Lowndes program around. They finished 4-6 last year in his first year, and Coach Rowland said you can just see where they're playing with a lot more confidence, a little more pep in their step this year, just kind of knowing what they're doing. They're 1 year better, under his system. And Camden's going to have their hands full again. Got to go on the road, play a Lowndes team that's playing real well on their home field. Of course, he's looking good, looking forward to going to playing in the Concrete Palace. He's heard a lot about it. He's already seen Bazemore Hatter Stadium up close and personal. And kudos to Camden. You got to strap it on week in and week out in this league, regardless of what happens the week before. And they didn't have a good performance over there in Valdosta, but came back with a heck of a performance all the way around last week against Richmond Hill. Really shut down the Richmond Hill run game, kind of took that away from them, forced them to try to beat them, throwing the football. They made plays in the passing game like they need to. Camden did. Parks Riendo had a big night throwing the football, 3 touchdown passes. So Camden got it done in a high-stakes game against Richmond Hill. So now they turn right back around and play another one against Lowndes. It's a dogfight, like you said, week in and week out in this region.
It definitely is. And for what it's worth, Mac Preps has got Camden ranked number 12 in Georgia and has Lowndes at 23. So we'll see if that holds true on Friday night. Charlton's going to be open this week. This is their bye week. Clinch County is going to be open as well, their bye week as well. But the next game we're going to talk about in depth, Kevin, is Houston County at Coffee. Coffee coming off that tough loss last week, 48-14 to Lee County. But Coffee sitting there at 21-1. Houston County, Kevin, has scored a lot of points this year. They're sitting there at 6-1, 2-0 in the region. They're averaging 48 points a game. I don't think they've faced a defense as good as Coffee, but again, Coffee, they've had some problems scoring. Only 14 against Lee last week. I don't think Houston's got the defense that Lee did, but at the same time, this could kind of turn into a shootout, Kevin. We'll see what happens. Coffee does get them at home, though.
Yeah, 2 ranked teams here. I mean, a 6-1 team, Houston that's 2-0 in the region. Of course, they played Veterans and Northside, which is, not 2 of the better teams in that region when you look at records and personnel and all that. Coffee coming off that loss. Obviously, it's been a long time since they lost, and they got beat pretty handily last week against Lee. So they had to, kind of swallow their pride. They got to turn around and bounce back. When you look at this game, the challenge last week was stopping that Lee run game, which they did not do, but no, very few teams.
Nobody has.
Nobody has, and so certainly Coffee not any different. But the challenge this week is stopping the passing game for Houston County. Antoine Hill, one of the best passers in the state, with over 2,200 passing yards already, 30 touchdowns already as well. Sean throwing for over 300 yards a game. So that's the challenge this week, is to stop him, slow him down. And again, this is one of those games where your best defense might be your offense, and Coffee can certainly run the football. And that's probably what they're going to try to do this week, is keep him on the sidelines, watching their offense move the chains and turn out yards with their run game.
Yeah, sometimes that your offense is your best defense, so we'll see if Coffee can control the clock and control the pace of the game. But Kevin, next game up, Effingham and Greenbrier. This is kind of weird. Both of these teams have already played this week. Effingham lost earlier in the week to Lakeside Evans. Greenbrier won early in the week, beating Bradwell. Now they got to turn around and play, here on Friday night. So we'll see how much legs that those two teams have got up under them. And then Frederica, coming off that better performance than we all expected against Bullock last week, only losing that game 14-0 when I think Bullock was a big, 20-something point favorite. But Frederica coming off a loss, got to get on the road and go over to Pinewood Christian. We'll see if they can get it done. But, hey, let's take a break, Kevin. We'll come back and finish up the games slated for October the 18th right here in the 912. But you're watching On Air with 912 Sports.
At Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery, you don't have to be an athlete to get the region's best orthopedic care. Our board-certified orthopedic surgeons and physicians treat injuries and conditions that affect just about any joint or bone in your body. Plus, we're backed by the support of Southeast Georgia Health System. From fracture repair to joint replacement, Summit Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Surgery will get you moving again. Call 1-855-ASK-SGHS. That's 1-855-275-7447 or visit sghs.org/summit.
Welcome back, sports fans, and thanks for watching On Air with 912 Sports. I'm Sean Smoke. He's Kevin Price, and we're talking about the games for October the 18th right here in the 912. The Glen Academy Red Terrors are going to be off after their victory here over South Effingham. Jeff Davis winning the game of the week. They're beating Bacon County last week. They're going to have a bye week. Liberty County is open this Friday. Now, they actually did play back on Tuesday night, wound up losing 28-19 to South Effingham. But the first game that we're going to talk about, Kevin, in depth is Jenkins at Long. I know I said this at the beginning of the year. I thought that the Long County Blue Tide could go 9-1, 8-2. But Kevin, the rubber's fixing to meet the road for Long County. They have got a 4-game stretch that they've got to find a way to win at least 3 of them if they can. 2 of them, if they go 2-2, they'll put me at my 8-2. But if they can't do that, then my prediction is going to be wrong. And they're going to play a very talented Jenkins team. Jenkins coming to this game off a big win over Southeast Bullock, 48-14. Jenkins sitting there, I think 4-2 on the season. I know Long's 6-0, but if you look at Jenkins' schedule, it's been a lot tougher than what Long's have. This game is in Long County, so we'll see if they can hold on and get a win over a very, very formidable Jenkins team.
Yeah, Jenkins 4-2, and like you say, when you look at their losses, one of those is to Lowndes in the highest classification in the state, which we already talked about, and then a really good Calvary Day team, which, by the way, was in overtime. Now, Long County obviously having a good season, rocking along at 6-0. Of course, they're 5-0 in the region. They have played some comparable opponents and had some comparable scores. Obviously, Jenkins is going to be, probably the best team they have played today. So this is going to be their biggest challenge. So it's time for Long to answer the bell. We'll see if they can get it done. I think they have, what it takes to get it done. They're just going to play, probably the best team they played to date. And we'll see if they can rise to the challenge.
Yeah, they got to do a little bit better than Southeast Bullock did against Trenton Rhodes. Trenton Rhodes, the big do-everything guy for Jenkins, 247 all-purpose yards. So definitely got to try to do what they can to corral him. So we'll see if Jenkins or if Long can get that win over Jenkins. Metters at MCA. MCA got bounced back after losing to Jenkins County. Playing a really tough Metter team, so we'll see how that shakes out. The Buccaneers do get that game at home, so we'll see if they can put one in the W column. Warner Robins got to go over to Pooler and play New Hampstead. New Hampstead hadn't played in several weeks. Warner Robins' last game, they lost to Benedictine. Let's see if they can get back on the winning side. And then Pierce is going to play their second region contest as Chris County comes to town. Chris struggled a little bit this year, winless in the region. I think they've only won 1 game all year long, but they have been in some games. They just hadn't been able to put it away and get that W. But the next game we're going to talk about, Kevin, in depth is Valdosta at Richmond Hill. You mentioned it earlier. Valdosta really in the driver's seat there for 6A. Richmond Hill, we knew they were going to have a good team this year, but they kind of stumbled here. They didn't play well against Tiff. They got beat by Camden. Oh, now, by the way, you got to play big, bad Valdosta. You do get them at home. Last time Valdosta came to Richmond Hill, they left with an L, which was a playoff game here a couple of years ago. So we'll see if Richmond Hill can kind of bounce back after that loss to Camden and get a surprise victory over Valdosta.
Yeah, Valdosta hung their hat on their defense last week in that game against Colquitt. Won that ball game 7-3. It was kind of an old school ball game. Valdosta was playing kind of shorthanded, I guess, if you will, in that ball game. I think they've lost one of their top running backs on offense. I'm not sure if he's gone for the season or not, but he was out last week. And then their all-everything quarterback, Todd Robinson, got hurt in the Camden game late in that ball game, I believe it was, and played hobbled last week, even though he did play. I think he had limited carries in that ball game, just kind of stayed back there, directed the offense, handed the ball off, kind of kept things organized, if you will, kind of a game manager. Didn't really, amount for a lot in terms of stats and that kind of thing. And that really changes the dynamic of their offense, because you're talking about a kid that can certainly run the ball, but he can throw it too. And I don't know how much better he'll be this week, but if he's not 100%, that certainly plays into Richmond Hill's hands and gives them a much, much better chance of winning the ball game. But obviously, Richmond Hill relies heavily on their run game. Camden did a good job of slowing them down, more or less shutting them down, held the Troop kid to less than 100 yards rushing last week, and he's had, Sean, as you know, several games of over 200 yards. They really limited their explosive plays in their offense, but Richmond Hill's scheme is a little bit hard to prepare for. They do some tricky things with the way they line up, and that's going to present some challenges, I think, for Valdosta that they may be a little bit worried about it, concerned about, from what I hear. So that'd be a good little chess match there. Valdosta does have a good, though, front seven, really good defensive front. So that'll present challenges for the Richmond Hill offensive front, which is very good. And so that'll be a good matchup there in the trenches. But, like we talked about, after losing that game to Camden, Richmond Hill's got to find a way to either beat Lowndes, Colquitt, or Valdosta to work their way into a possible, playoff hunt here. They got to win one, or they're going to be on the outside looking in. So what better way to start than with a home win over Valdosta and kind of upset the apple cart in this region? We're waiting for something to fall, and what a big domino that could fall here if they could beat the Wildcats on Friday night.
Exactly. And if Robinson's hobbled, man, I mean, this cat's a game changer. We know that. I mean, all you got to do is ask the Camden County Wildcats. I mean, he can take over a football game. And if he's hobbled, that definitely bodes well for Richmond Hill. So we'll see what shakes out over in Richmond Hill on Friday night. Evans going to travel down to Statesboro to take on them. Evans, this will be their second game this week. They played back on Monday, got a big win. So we'll see if they can go down to Statesboro and get win number 2 this week. And then the next game we're going to talk about is Ware at Perry. The Ware County Gators beat Benedictine last Friday night, 38 to 14, a big kind of surprise game, but Ware really dominated that game. Benedictine lost their quarterback, lost their running back, in that game to injury. But again, the Ware County Gators just took over the second half and really dominated that game. But now, by the way, Kevin, they got to go on the road, travel another 2 hours north to play the defending 4A state champion Perry Panthers. So, it's like I said, you beat the former state champions. Now you got to go beat the current state champion. So, Perry's playing really, really good football. The one thing I've noticed about Perry, in their wins, they're averaging 42 points a game. In their losses, they're only averaging 16 points a game. So Ware's going to need to keep them around that 20 mark if they want to try to get a victory, there on Friday night on the road.
Well, first off, hats off to the Gators for winning that ball game last week. I mean, obviously, Ware County hit pretty hard, during Hurricane Helene, and obviously to Coach Strickland and the players for kind of rallying together, coming together, and just dealing with everything they dealt with leading up to that ball game, to put a game plan together to go on the road after originally being scheduled to play that game at home. At one time thinking they were going to play New Hampstead before they played the Cadets, and to switch back to playing the Cadets, and then here's the Cadets getting a few games under their belt. Since Ware County had played, they were in that ball game at the half, 14-10. Like you said, I know that BC's quarterback did get hurt, and they lost their running back. But Ware was already coming back, starting to take over that game with their ground game. That was on BC's defense to stop that. They did not. Once Ware took the lead, I think it kind of sounds like the air went out of the collective balloon of the Cadets. They knew they were in trouble as their offense was going to be struggling, and Ware just kind of won that game going away, which was the surprise, the way they took it over. But I know Coach Strickland, at all the places he's been, certainly has been a part of some big wins in the playoffs and in the regular season. But when you look at everything that they had been through on and off the field and already in the season, not to mention before the hurricane came along, that has to be one of his biggest signature wins in his career in the regular season. But moving on now, I guess, Sean, to make that game mean what it could mean, it matters what Ware kind of does from here on out.
Exactly.
To make that game mean what it could mean for them, and it could mean a region championship, because they beat the team that was kind of sitting maybe in the driver's seat, if you will, early in the region schedule. But they do have to go on the road again now to Perry, kind of make a long trip. And you kind of stole my thunder there, Sean. When you look at Perry, they can score points. They certainly can, but I think they're a suspect maybe on defense when you look at some of their scores, when you just kind of look at numbers, particularly against the better teams they played. So I would say, like you said, if Ware can keep their offense, kind of bottled up, keep them around, the 20 mark or so, I think Ware can put enough points on the scoreboard assuming their offense is still healthy, to go over there and pick up another big region win here and maybe put themselves certainly in the driver's seat to possibly win this region championship.
Yeah, and like I said, there's silver linings and everything. The Hurricane delayed where we're supposed to play Benedictine on the 27th. They were a mash unit that weekend, Kevin. They had no clue who was going to play quarterback because their first-string quarterback, their second-string quarterback, and really their third-string quarterback, none of those guys were going to be able to play. They were going to have to come up with some kind of, big bull gator package and kind of run running backs just straight from the backfield. And like I said, when the Hurricane hit, it kind of pushed everything and joggled everything and threw everything into a tailspin. And so, Ware played Benedictine a lot more healthier last Friday night than they would on the 27th. So you just never know what a football season is going to bring. But like I said, that definitely was the silver lining. But yeah, you talk about Coach and a big win. I think it was one of the most satisfying wins he's ever had because he was proud of all of his kids. Because we had kids in Jacksonville and Brunswick and Atlanta and all just basically all over the Southeast, trying to survive because nobody had power around here for about 2 weeks. And these kids still came together, executed the plan well and played an excellent team on the road and come away with a victory. So definitely a satisfying win.
How many actual practices would you say they really had where they could really practice and game plan for the cadets? And maybe the way to say it would full squad practices or maybe even really productive practices. You know what I'm getting at.
Right. Yeah. And I think that last week that was pretty, normal is normal is a relative term, but I think the 4 days prior to the 11th, that was about as normal as it had been. Now you go back to the week before when we were going to play New Hampstead, we were probably taking 40 kids to New Hampstead. You know what I mean? It was going to be basically another mash unit, and whoever could show up was going to play. And we're going to have kids all over the field. But I think the week before we played Benedictine was as close to normal as you can with the same number of practices. Mostly, let's call it 95% complete of your kids that were there. So it was really a pretty normal week going into that game. The 2 previous weeks, different stories for sure. So, it was a skeleton crew.
And maybe this is the place to ask this too, since Ware is playing Perry. But do we know what happened in that Perry New Hampstead game, that 80-47 score? Were the defenses even on the field?
Well, and actually, I think the defenses did score like 3 times for Perry. The three touchdowns were with Perry. Roshan Truell threw for 635 yards or whatever it was, a GHSA state record.
Right.
But you lost by 40 points, or 37 points or whatever the difference was. He did have 3 interceptions. I know the defense did score on 3 possessions. I don't know if those were interceptions or scoops and scores or whatever. But Perry with 21 of their 80 points come from the defensive side of the ball.
And that was Perry's starting defense on the field?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
From what I understand, it was that's what it was. I didn't hear any different about them having guys out or anything like that. So that obviously had their offensive players. They scored a lot of points. So, but we'll see if Ware can go on the road and, like I said, keep this winning streak alive and put themselves in the driver's seat to win that region. But last game up, Benedictine's got to go over to Wayne County, over to Jessup, and Kevin, Benedictine's got to do some soul searching now. I hate it for the Cannon kid, but it looks like, he may be out for the season. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that's kind of what it was looking like Friday night. If that's the case, they've got to replace, a lot of their offense. So we'll see if they can, get ready and try to finish out this region play because, if he can't play anymore, they got to find somebody that can, can produce points for him. But I feel confident they can go on the road over to Jessup and get a win over Wayne. But when it gets time to play some of these other teams like Perry and New Hampstead and some of those guys, we'll see if they can score enough points to to stay in those games. So, but that's going to wrap it up for August the 18th. October the 18th. Guys, get out and see a high school football game this weekend. We'll be right back here with more On Air with 912 Sports right after these messages.
It makes sense Prime South Bank would have a great mobile app. Nobody is as mobile as our customers. For a century, they've chased dreams, followed their hearts, took the road less taken, made a new path, taken leaps of faith. At Prime South, offering the latest digital banking, Secure pay apps and new online lending is part of a mobile tradition that goes way back. Life is mobile. So is Prime South. Find your Prime. Member FDIC.
High schoolers, did you know that you can get a head start on your college career and save money at the same time through dual enrollment at Coastal Pines Technical College? Dual enrollment is open to high school juniors and seniors, tuition free. Talk to your high school counselor or visit coastalpines.edu for more information. Coastal Pines Technical College, an equal opportunity institution. Go Coastal.
Welcome back, sports fans. I'm Sean Spoke, filling in for Evan Spoke for his pick of Game of the Week. This week's Game of the Week is the South Effingham Mustangs at the Bradwell Tigers, Bradwell Institute Tigers. And guys, we picked this Game of the Week back at the beginning of the season. Both of these teams coming off much improved seasons last year. They just haven't materialized here in 2024. Basically, South Effingham is over on the season, and Bradwell sitting there with one win. Bradwell is playing a little bit better, I think, than South Effingham, and for that reason, Evan is going to pick the Bradwell Tigers to win this game. Bradwell able to score some points. South Effingham scoreless here in their last 3 games, and I think only 6 points scored in the last 5. So they got some offensive woes. So Evan is going to go with Bradwell to win this game. Right now, Evan's sitting at 5-3. We'll see if he can move to 6-3 on the season. We'll be right back here with more On Air with 912 Sports right after these messages.
Gibson Animal Clinic is ready to help with your animals. From cats to dogs to horses, we treat them all. Call on us for grooming, bathing, boarding, and more serious things like surgery, dentistry, spay, neuter, immunizations, heartworm prevention, flea control, complete lab testing, radiology, preventive health care. Call us at 285-7678. Open Saturdays for your convenience. Gibson Animal Clinic. Practical solutions with reasonable fees. Russell J. Gibson, DVM.
Gibson Animal Clinic, 108 Riverside Drive, Waycross.
Hablamos español en nuestra clínica.
This has been a presentation of 912 Sports.